everyone. We'll let the room populate a bit and then we'll get started. Good seeing everyone. Yes, there we go. My name is Daniel Van Arsdale. I'm an admissions advisor here at Bastyr, and I have with me Dr. Caleb Lunn and Professor Nancy Perlow, and we will be discussing the undergraduate programs here at Bastyr, the Bachelors of Herbal Science and the Bachelors of Science, Nutrition, Food, and Exercise. And I want to do a little housekeeping note. If you have questions, at the bottom of the page, you'll see a Q&A box with a question mark. You can put your questions there, and we will read them from the queue when we are done. We will answer questions after the presentation. So with that, I'd like to get started with our Bachelors of Herbal Science program with Dr. Caleb Lund.
Hello, hello. We have our slide deck coming up here.
Yes, yes, sir.
All right.
That is the first slide. And what is our philosophy for herbal sciences?
Oh, I cannot see it.
Oh,
Is that?
well, I'll begin to read it while you do that. Believe in the healing power of nature and plant-centered medicine. We value both traditional wisdom and modern scientific inquiry, while emphasizing critical and creative thinking to prepare students in careers in growing, harvesting, manufacturing, research, and clinical practice using botanical medicines.
Daniel, you've been able to share your screen so we can see the slide deck?
Oh, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? Okay. There we go. Now that helps, Dr. Lund. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, it's trying to find it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is our herbal science program. The herbal science program is pretty unique because we draw together both traditional information and kind of modern scientific information about plants, specifically plants about medicine. And we also are working with plants from the seed all the way to the clinic or to the research bench or to the retail shop. So we have to cover a lot of bases along the way there with plants. But in the program, you get the entire picture of how to grow the plants, how to harvest them, when to harvest them, how to process them into medicine, how to analyze them to make sure that they are potent medicine, and then how to use them and recommend them to people. So we cover a wide breadth of information about botanical medicines. Go on to the next slide for me. And it's a 2-year program. So you do need to get some prerequisites done, usually about equivalent of an associate's degree before you come to Bastyr. And we typically have a fall start. We try to make sure that we cover a couple growth cycles of plants because, again, like I said, you get to grow the plants and you get a little plot of garden that you will be working with plants, and you can work in our beautiful gardens here. But we need you to be part of that experience. So being here for a couple of years and getting your hands in the dirt is really important. And suffice it to say, this is a campus-based program because, again, we want you to be here with our gardens. And in our laboratories also working with the plants physically. Next. There is our herb lab with some students working hard, processing some plants. The herbal science program is pretty cool because it's the only one in the country that will teach you the things that you'll learn here. There's lots of small herbal schools where you can work with herbalists and stuff, but what you get here is an accredited degree with a really strong basic science background in applied health sciences. For me, and I stand by this statement, but this is the best preparatory program for going into the ND program. So if you have aspirations of going into the ND program or acupuncture, you're not going to get a better preparation for it than this program, just because you get the strong basic science foundation, but you also leave Herbal Sciences as an expert in botanical medicine, essentially. So you're very, very well equipped to enter a medical program. And if you decide to go more conventional MD programs, you'll have this really strong basis in dietary supplements and how to integrate that into modern allopathic medicine. Like I said, we kind of pride ourselves, back on getting that plant all the way from ground to bench and clinic. So you see the entire process and you understand the nuances of this entire process. And as we'll get to later, there's a lot of places where you can land as an herbalist. And it's also a point of pride for us that 85% of our graduates end up in a field that's based on this degree program. And like I said, there's diverse options for you. Now we can get into the curriculum. It's a pretty fun curriculum. I will say this first year here is somewhat daunting for a lot of folks, just because there's a lot of science in it. A lot of students come to the program kind of hoping for it to be just all about plants and stuff, but we want you to be herbal scientists, so we need to give you a lot of science in there. So you're getting your chemistry, anatomy and physiology, true botany, biochemistry. So those will be a pretty heavy part of your first year, but we do layer on to that the herbs. So you're getting, like I said, horticulture, so you're starting to grow plants. You're going to learn about kind of the introductions to herbal science and ethnobotany. You'll start to make herbal medicines. You'll start to learn how to make all the different types of preparations. So we try to keep you invested in herbalism while layering on a lot of hardcore basic sciences. And then the next year, year two, this is when it gets really heavy duty into the herbs, and you'll take what is the kind of hallmark course series of the program, which is Materia Medica 1. Through the Materia Medica series, you're going to learn in depth over 150 different plants. So you'll learn the botany, the chemistry, the medical indications, the contraindications, everything you want to know about the plants. You'll also learn about plant chemistry and pharmacognosy. And then we also have what we call the research track in year two, where you develop an idea about botanical medicine and develop a research project, and you take that research project to completion. So test methods, QA/QC, and then research applications is that research track. At the end of that, you get to present an original research poster with you or your classmates. So not only are you kind of coming out fully fledged as an herbalist, you also have some research credentials under your belt also. Another kind of unique aspect of the Herbal Science program is the Herbal Science Practicum, which is where we send you out for a few weeks, usually April, for 4 weeks, out into the world, and you work with a professional in the industry, whether it's a clinician or you want to work in a quality assurance laboratory or maybe a wildcrafter. But you're basically shadowing people and kind of learning the tricks of the trade, the ins and outs, and trying to see if that's a good fit for you. But we want you to kind of get to the end of the program with some real world experience to figure out where you want to fit. Because like I said, there's a lot of options for you at the end of the Herbal Science program. Another super cool part about our department is our electives. I think we have some of the coolest electives at the university. Um, Things like mycology, gemotherapy, gardening, and then we have what are called our field courses. So these are electives that involve a little bit of traveling, but you're going to get away from the Bastyr campus and travel either locally here in Washington or in some cases across the world. So we have an elective where you travel to Costa Rica and you learn about the plants and permaculture centers in Costa Rica. We also have a Southwest one where you go down to the Sonoran Desert and learn about desert plants, since you're probably kind of tired of learning about the Pacific rainforest plants after a couple years. That's always a good option. Various wildcrafting courses. So again, we keep it pretty interesting, and in part of the program, you're required to take at least 4 credits in the field courses. So we really want you to invest in getting out, getting familiar with the plants. And this is one thing that our program is unique in the country. You know, a lot of online programs just send you a packet of herbs and stuff, but for us, it's really important that you get out into the environments, get out into the field, work with, grow the plants, and really understand both the growth cycle and how that affects the medicine that you're making. So here's some good pictures of our adventures. We've got some out here. These are some farms in Oregon, some medicinal herb farms in Oregon, harvesting some chamomile. This is Richo Czech from Strictly Medicinals. We visit his farm. This is down the Sonoran Desert in a mega bloom of prickly poppies that we found on one of our field electives down there. And this is local wildcrafting, looking for some hawthorn berries locally here. So again, we try to give you some really good adventures, working with the plants physically out in their native environments as much as possible. And here is our kind of famous herb garden. You can see the herb garden. It's, when I first got to Bastyr, it was kind of like my version of the Walk of Stars. You know, you go to Hollywood and you go, "Ooh, I know that person," but you walk around our herb gardens here at Bastyr and it's like, "Oh my gosh, I read about that herb," and now you can actually see it. And we have over 350 herbs, medicinal herbs growing in this garden, and then back through the student village we have, you know, edible food forests and stuff that are kind of part of this garden. But it's an invaluable resource to have so many medicinal plants that you just have direct access to, where you can go out, spend time with them, see them in their, you know, full form rather than just powdered and cut and sifted herb. It's a remarkable experience to have, is this garden. Not pictured over there is a greenhouse too, but we have a really amazing research quality greenhouse that we work into. Another angle of our garden, reflexology path. But the gardens are designed to be both a learning space, but also just kind of a refuge. So you can escape from classroom and come out to the garden and kind of get a handle on your thoughts. But also this is a production site. So we use the herbs that we grow in the garden in our laboratories, and we try hard to maximize so that as many herbs as possible we're growing and using in the labs also. We also ship them down to our sister campus in San Diego, so everyone gets a chance to use our great herbs. This is our herb lab, so maybe my second favorite place on campus other than the garden is the herb lab itself. So this is where we take the herbs, whether fresh from the garden, or you can see all these jars here. Those are dried herbs that you can use to make medicine. So this is a super set up kitchen, and you have access to hundreds of herbs. It's pretty remarkable. I spend a lot of time reminding students to make sure that you take advantage of your time in the herb lab, because it's very rare in life that you get exposure to this much possibilities. You know, all those herbs. You can basically make anything you want, but this is a place where you get to experiment play with the plants, learn what works, learn what doesn't. Um, my philosophy when I put students in there is make mistakes and kind of learn the trade. Because again, it's expensive when you have to do this at home with yourself, buy your own herbs, buy your own products and all your gear, but it's just here ready for you. And so you just get to learn, play with the plants and learn. So you can see some students having fun. This is a social that we also have students use herbs to make food and feed each other. So we get everyone together to make herbal based kind of meals to support both the junior and senior class and tie everyone together. You can also see back there the tincture wall. It's another fun aspect of the herb lab, which we have hundreds of tinctures. Again, they're meant for us to learn from and taste and experience. A huge part of herbalism is what we call organoleptics, where you use your senses to assess quality and kind of learn the ins and outs of that plant. And the only way to do that is to experience it. So we have all of these tinctures, all of these herbs that you get to do that in the herb lab. And then the next level, once you've made herbal products, you get to bring those herbal products into our analytical chemistry lab, where we can break down the tinctures that you've made and assess them chemically to see, is 50% alcohol better than 70% alcohol? You can answer that question here in our laboratories. And this is literally across the hall. So you make a tincture, you bring it over to the lab, and we can analyze it by HPLC or GCMS in the laboratory. So it's a really kind of enriching process where you can literally grow a plant in the garden that you have a question about, a research question, bring it into the herb lab, process it into an extract, and then walk across the hall and test that extract to see, did it work? Did growing it in this soil make it a stronger medicine? That's a question you can ask, and it's a fun journey. So we can't talk about our Kenmore campus here without talking about the surrounding woods. This is another resource that we have available to students. You just have to walk out the door, and we have this Pacific Northwest Forest as part of St. Edward's State Park. So we spend a lot of time in our courses walking along these trails, learning about plant ID and teaching you the ethnobotany of indigenous plants in the area. We also have an on-site herbarium here, so we collect and process and press our plants so that we have a record of what's used for research, but also just a record of what we grow here, and you'll learn that process. We also have a basic science research laboratory where you can take your extracts and expose them to cells in culture, like human cells, to see, does this affect liver cells? We had a good project a couple years ago where we're looking at schizandra, which is a Chinese herb that's commonly used to treat liver dysfunction. And so we exposed some liver cells to pretty excessive doses of alcohol. So we kind of got them pretty grumpy, looking at alcohol toxicity, but then we put schizandra on them and we're able to observe modulation of toxicity on those cells. So again, another layer you can add on to your herb journey. We're also a member of the Sacred Seeds Project. So we have another trail in here that will take you on a journey through native plants of the Pacific Northwest and their indigenous peoples' names and indigenous peoples' uses of those plants. So we pride ourselves on being very culturally sensitive and involved with our local indigenous peoples in our program. And you can experience that on the Sacred Seeds Trail. And then one last thing to note is that we're very close to University of Washington, so anything that you can't do in our laboratories, we have friends and folks at UW that can take your research to the next level if needed. So some faculty, again, this is me. I'm the current chair of the Botanical Medicine Department. My training is in toxicology, but as part of that, I've been always interested in plants, and so when I graduated, I kind of dove right in and became an herbalist and started teaching at Bastyr. Ran our research laboratories for a while, and now I'm kind of deep in it. I love teaching about plants and especially about the chemistry of plants. I'm a big chemistry nerd, so if you're chemistry phobic, I can bring around, I bet. I've converted a lot of people to chemistry lovers. Let's look at Jen. So this is Dr. Daisy, another long-term member of our program. She actually graduated from the ND program and the HS program, and she's been teaching here ever since. So a massive resource for us to have. She's an active clinician, kind of master gardener, and teaches a lot of stuff about mushrooms and food, and she gets the pleasure of taking you to Costa Rica if you decide to take that elective. So definitely an important person to know. Then we have Crystal Hamby, who's our medicine maker extraordinaire. She's another graduate of our program, and loved it so much she didn't want to leave either. But she has become our master of the herb lab. So if you have any questions about how to make anything with herbs, any herbal products or preparations, she is the one to go to. She's also in charge of the herb lab. So you learn to listen to Crystal if you want access to the herb lab. She teaches herbal preparations and plant ID, and she's also a critical part of the horticulture series, teaching you how to grow plants out in our garden. Then we're very lucky to have Nicole Telks from in our program. She's our garden supervisor and also an adjunct faculty member in the program. She kind of garnered fame because she was one of the members that took the fire cider trial to the Supreme Court and won. So she is who you get to thank for all of us being able to use fire cider as a term on our products. But she is a very, very cool clinical herbalist. She's an activist, again, another master gardener and educator, just a wealth of knowledge and experience. But yeah, really cool person that we have in our department. And then finally we have Caitlin Gilson. She is the director of the CHLD program. This is a separate program from the Herbal Science program. This is Certificate in Holistic Landscape Design. So this is a program that teaches permaculture and how to build landscapes in any environment, including urban environments, and kind of make healthy spaces where people live. And so you can get a certificate alongside the Herbal Science degree if you wanted to. And the CHLD program is becoming a hybrid program soon, so it's going to become even easier if you're interested in joining that. But if you are interested in gardening or horticulture as an aspect of herbal science, definitely want to get to know Caitlin, and she's an excellent resource. So as I said, the opportunities for an herbal science graduate are pretty diverse. It really depends on what your interests are. Kind of the easiest one to talk about first is clinical graduate programs. So like I said, the herbal science program is an amazing preparatory bachelor's degree for any clinical program. You're going to get a really strong basic science background, including anatomy and physiology and disease processes. So you're just primed for it. And the experience that you get in botanical medicine will make your ND years a breeze because you've already got that under your belt. But we have probably about 20% of our graduates end up going into either ND or acupuncture programs. But we also have some of our graduates become clinical herbalists, which is a challenge which I can describe at some other point, but that is an option for folks. We have probably 10% of our graduates end up going to related graduate programs, so not necessarily clinical, but going into ethnobotany or the harder sciences like pharmacology or toxicology. Pharmacognosy is a career that's coming back as more and more people are interested in using dietary supplements. Companies are realizing they need to hire pharmacognostists, so schools are training pharmacognostics, and you can become one if you want. There's always opportunities in herbal industry, and because as part of our program you learn dietary supplement regulations and quality control, again, you're the premier candidate to be hired into a dietary supplement company, working in their labs or as a quality assurance manager or in their formulating divisions, wildcrafting or sourcing. If you want a really cool job, become an herbal sourcer. You get to travel around the world and talk to people that are harvesting plants or growing plants all over the world, and assess them for their quality. You'll get to meet a couple that come and guest lecture for us. We have some of our graduates that are writers, so they write for various magazines or they write their own books. United States Pharmacopoeia is always looking for people to contribute to their monographs, and we have a couple graduates that are working there now. So if writing is your passion and you like to write about plants, there's a pathway for you. And then finally, if horticulture is more your jam, if you want to grow plants rather than use them as medicine, you can become a cultivator, and we'll teach you wildcrafting and medicinal plant cultivation. The horticulture series is an excellent way to learn that. And again, if that's your passion, I would recommend looking into the CHLD program as well. But yeah, happy to answer any questions you have when there's time for it.
Thank you, Dr. Lund. My apologies for, I don't drive much on Zoom, so but thank you. That was very
It's a
comprehensive.
learned skill.
It is. And so we have next Professor Nancy Perlow with the Bachelors of Science, Nutrition, Food, and Exercise. And like I said, if you would be so kind to put your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, and we will get to them when we are done with this presentation.
Hi.
Professor Perlow.
Hi. So I'm Professor Perlow. I'm the chair of the Department of Nutrition and Exercise Science, and I'm up here in Kenmore by Seattle at our campus in Kenmore. Of course, we also have a campus in San Diego, but this program that we're talking about today, our Bachelor of Science in Nutrition, Food, and Exercise, is located on site on campus up here in Kenmore. And so just starting with our overarching philosophy, which is true of all of our nutrition programs and of the school in general, our mission is mind, body, spirit balance and in all things. And our philosophy in our nutrition program is a whole foods paradigm. It's a whole foods approach to nutrition, meaning that our belief is that the best nutrition comes through food, and Whole Foods has everything that we need when we are able to engage with it in balance and in variety, and it gives you the tools to support your body. And then that paired with movement is really what is foundational to our Bachelor of Science, Nutrition, Food, and Exercise. So, for short, the BSNFE program has a few career pathways. You could become a strength and conditioning coach. It says clinical nutrition. That's really dependent on which state you would practice in. You could add on a certification as a certified nutritionist. Different states have different criteria around how you can practice nutrition, but you can definitely practice community nutrition, or move into graduate school for other pathways in a nutrition pathway, becoming a registered dietitian nutritionist. There are also Masters of Science in Nutrition as well. And our program sets you up with the sciences that you need for evidence-based nutrition, including moving into graduate school in nutrition. There's corporate wellness directors, lifestyle coaching. You can become a personal trainer. And then also we have designed our program so that you are prepared after graduation if you would like to take the certification steps through the American College of Sports Medicine and National Strength and Conditioning Association. So there's a couple certifications you could get in the exercise science field as well. So it's a very diverse degree. It's nutrition, food, and exercise because, as you'll see in our curriculum a little bit later, we're not only studying metabolism and nutrition and how our body utilizes food toward our wellness, we're also studying food and ingredients as well as movement. So our program overview, it's 90 credits in Kenmore. It's 2 complete years full-time. And when we say that, we're on a quarter system. And so we have a fall start, and we're really thinking about fall, winter, and spring, 2 years of fall, winter, and spring. We do have some courses that you may choose to take in summer, say you wanted to lighten your load a little bit. We offer 1 or 2 courses. This is a cohort model. It's a block system model, if you will, where you do progress through the program with your cohort, and your courses are laid out in such you don't pick them, randomly from a catalog each quarter. They're already laid out in a cohort model. So there are a few that you could take in the summer, but for the most part, it's fall, winter, and spring for 2 years. And we really pride ourselves here at Bastyr on our evidence-based approach to nutrition. I think now more than ever, it's very important. We have a lot of blogs, a lot of influencers, a lot of trends around food and nutrition, but our approach is really to get to the heart of the science and evidence-based matter of things when it comes to our nutrition program. So our coursework also includes another thing that I enjoy about being here at Bastyr. It includes cooking some of the ingredients when we're learning about food. And not all nutrition programs actually interact in lab cooking. We truly believe that nutrition needs to come to you through food, and being able to work with food, not simply know about, again, the nutrition once food enters the body and how it metabolizes, but also understanding how to work with ingredients and work with whole foods as the medium to the wellness. So we do have some science prerequisites as well as our general education prerequisites. Again, we are evidence-based, and we're also preparing you upon graduation for graduate school if you'd so like in nutrition. So a prerequisite we have, you'll see in cell biology with lab. We have chemistry, college algebra or statistics, and then an introductory to nutrition course. That's a course that's a general overview of nutrition that talks about the components of food, a little bit of an overview of macro and micronutrients in food, and at the very basic generalized level. We have our general education requirements, which, because we are specializing now in our final 2 years, essentially, of a college program, this just sort of means you're almost already coming to us with an AA degree, but admissions can definitely help you with where you are situated with your general education requirements as you come to Bastyr for your final 2 years of university, specializing in nutrition, food, and exercise. Here's a little example of our curriculum. You can see we have year one, which we consider our junior year, because again, you are already coming in front loaded with your first 2 years of college. And so in year one in this program, you really see where we begin on the nutrition side of things. So we're starting sort of to engage hitting the ground running with our sciences that are preparing us for our future quarters. So we have our anatomy and physiology, organic chemistry, and life sciences. We have whole foods production, taking a look at ingredients, and we have a cooking lab in there. It's a food systems oriented course. So we're sort of looking at how food is produced and how it makes its way to our plate and into our bodies. You do see we have physical activity and wellness. So we do have a little bit of movement peppered in there in the first quarter. And we continue with our sciences. We have our food science, introduction to food science there in year one. We have writing and research and health promotion. It shows how diverse this degree is. It's setting you up a little bit if you would like to go on to writing, or also if you would like to begin to approach research. And we have more food system and community health course. You see that in sustainable food systems, the environment, and health. Year two is when you really start to move into more of the movement courses. We have the physiology of exercise, sports nutrition. Those two things kind of pair well together. Principles of resistance training. And so you begin to move more in that direction. We have a practicum, and in our practicum, you go out and shadow in the field, perhaps with this degree, it could be something that has to do with food systems. It could be something that has to do with nutrition, maybe in a clinic, maybe in a research lab. It could have something to do with movement. Perhaps you're in a gym. It would depend which direction you would like to take your practicum as you're feeling which direction you're sort of leaning into your future with this degree. But there is a practicum where you will be out into the field for a quarter, shadowing professionals in the field. So expected program outcomes, I talked a little bit about with potential of the program, but we want to be able to critically evaluate and interpret media and research findings about food, nutrition, and exercise. By the time you're finished with the program, you should be able to listen to a podcast or read some research and know yourself if it's evidence-based and where it's situated, either in the literature or in popular culture. You should be able to communicate about food, nutrition, and exercise, whether that's written or in oral format in a cohesive and accurate manner. You could describe food, nutritional, and physical activity needs of healthy people in a supportive stance or in a therapeutic situation. And you are beginning to think about food-related and physical interventions in disease process. And then again, this begins to prepare you for further study also. And again, a beautiful picture of our facilities here. We do, especially the second year in the movement part of the course, you will find sometimes you'll find yourself outside and in cooking labs, sort like therapeutic cooking. You may find yourself in the garden looking for some culinary herbs as well. And there's a picture of our dorms. And Caleb talked a little bit earlier about the beauty of St. Edward's Park where we're located, and it's multiple trails, and we're actually at the water's edge as well, if you're not from the area.
Nancy, thank you, and Dr. Lund, thank you as well. Professor Perlow and Dr. Lund in the programs, and how to apply, how to get from where you're at to these programs. That's the steps to apply is chat with me. My name is Daniel, and you can apply online at Apply Bastyr. And we need your official transcripts, all official transcripts from each college and university or colleges attended. And then once you start communication with us, please check your emails regularly for application. And as a thank you today for attending the webinar, we want to waive your application fee with the code Future Bastyrian. Now, this will expire in a couple of days, I think March 23rd at 11:59. That's the magic pumpkin time. But we are shifting systems, so we will take applications up until that time with this code. After that, you can talk to me about next steps. Application requirements, program prerequisites. They're pretty much the same for both programs, except for with Bachelors of Science, Food, Nutrition, and Exercise is that Intro to Nutrition course. But both require cell biology and Gen Chem 1 and 2 and algebra. What's next? After your application, your official transcripts have been submitted. Well, they will be evaluated. Strong applicants will be invited to program interview by the faculty. Um, I I think that these are faculty. I think it's interview waived, isn't it, for your programs?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So if you're admitted to the program, your next steps include financial aid, which I would recommend in these uncertain times. Check with your financial aid first. Make sure you are funded first, and then pay your enrollment commitment deposit. It goes towards your tuition, so don't worry about that. It is well worth it to hold your spot. And set up your Bastyr email and student account, because oftentimes you may have correspondence already waiting for you, and we no longer communicate with you once you set up your email through your personal Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo examples of that. Um, and remember to submit all transcripts, please, all official. And being prepared to successfully finance your education is a critical part of your journey. Like I mentioned earlier, I think this is something you should check first in. And with that, how to apply for financial aid, you submit your FAFSA and submit your Bastyr financial aid application and submit as soon as possible, as this states as well, and provide all the requested documentation. Nancy Chrisman. And if you're taking notes and you feel like you haven't gotten any of these any of the information completely, don't hesitate to reach out for me. Um, excuse me. And I will answer any questions or direct you in the appropriate person as soon as possible. Explore our campus resources. Get to know our campus. The students are very approachable. Faculty is very approachable, as well as staff. And talk to a faculty member, student. Visit us. We have virtual campus tours or in-person tours. And then the bookstore, you can get really cool stuff like this sweater. I literally got this hoodie from the bookstore. So, and it is online now, and everything that you can get in person, you can get online. And once again, here are the contact folks, and we will begin to field questions if you have any. Let's see. Did we do such a great job that there are no questions? And once again, if you have, there we go. You can put it in the Q&A box at the bottom. Oh, thank you. So you all did such a great job. No stone unturned. We ask that you put your questions in the Q&A box. We don't have the capacity at this time for verbal responses. So some of the things that I guess I could add as an admissions advisor is making sure that the sciences are correct at our science level, correct? The cell biology, general chemistry, and I think your presentations explain the level of rigor that is required to be successful in these programs. So let me see. I think I have another question. Okay. It's okay. Here they're coming in. Which degree should I pursue for either clinical herbalist or naturopathic doctor? Caleb, would you?
Well, I mean, obviously the herbal science is gonna could be for a clinical herbalist, um, and I think it's a great option for the ND program. Really, any kind of pre-med-ish bachelor's degree would get you prepared for the ND program, but for a clinical herbalist, I think herbal science program would really be best.
Thank you. Another question is, are we able to do more than one research project for the herbal sciences? I love that question.
I love the ambition. Um, I'm not going to say no, but this is a full-time curriculum, so you may find that you are quite busy. Um, but if you have the ambition and find that you have free time, me and the faculty in the program are happy to support you if you have lots of burning questions to answer. One thing to remember as a restriction, it's not really within our time frame or scope to do clinical trials. We can't do intervention trials because that requires special ethical oversight. So this is more kind of analytical, maybe research on yourself clinically. That's a gray area, but sometimes students will do that. We had some students last year, they wanted to see if lion's mane mushroom helped them with their cognition. So we did a blinded trial with lion's mane mushroom, and then they took some cognitive instruments and looked to see if it helped them out. So those are kind of things that some students do too, which kind of integrates with their coursework, so it makes it possible to do.
Thank you. One other question, does the naturopathic doctoral program cover pediatric care? Question mark. Also, what were the prerequisites for the herbalism program? Bachelors of Herbal Science.
The prerequisites were very similar to what Nancy talked about. Again, we don't require the nutrition program, but the same general chemistry, biology, algebra, and then you need to have those basically 2 years of college under your belt at that point. I can't officially answer the pediatrics piece since I'm not an ND.
And they can contact me and I can refer them to someone in the ND department. So,
Yeah.
and this one I think is for you, Dr. Lund. Again, we send samples of tinctures to families for research.
Can we send
Samples of tinctures to family for research.
for research? Well, the medicine that you make in the program, um, you're you're free to do whatever you want with that. That's for your personal use, and if you want it, if your family's brave enough to take your medicines, then they're welcome to. Um, for research, that's a little bit different. Again, in the concept of research, we have to follow certain ethical rules. And so not necessarily for research, but you can do it for your own curiosity. If your family member has a condition and you think that your tincture might help them, there's nothing stopping you from suggesting that to them. But research, there's limitations that we have to follow for research.
Okay, we have a couple more questions. I'm glad they're coming in. They're coming in rapidly. It says, I am a single mom and work a full-time job. Need to present physically at work. Need to be present physically at work 40 hours a week. I am interested in the nutrition, food, exercise program, and I do need to apply for financial assistance. With my conditions, do you think it's relevant for me to attend this program? Do you offer part-time options or online options?
Hi. So in our program, is it possible to work 40 hours? I think it's difficult to work 40 hours. I think it's possible to work 40 hours. It would depend on the hours in which you work. We do have varying schedules quarter by quarter, and you receive your schedule a couple of weeks prior to the start of the quarter. The classes are primarily during the day. So, for example, you might have a class from 9 to 11 and then another class from 1 to 3. So it's really those daytime hours when you'll be on campus. You may have a class from 4 to 6. And so I think the flexibility of when those 40 hours could take place, perhaps on the weekend or later in the evening or very early in the morning. I can honestly say it could be a little bit of a challenge. We do not offer online for this program because we do utilize our labs and our exercise labs and our cooking labs. And so it is held on campus. That's not to say you would never have a hybrid course, but it is designed and accredited for as an on-campus program, in-person program. And so I'm going to make sure I answered all of your questions. If you have concerns, you definitely can reach out to me at nperlot@bastyr.edu, and we can talk further about that. I can show you some sample, maybe some sample schedules of, of when we hold class to see if that fits your personal life.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Professor Perlow and Dr. Lund. And thank you all for attending today. And if you have any further questions about anything discussed here, please give me a call. My job is like your guide, your cheerleader, your advocate, your coach on your admissions journey. So I'd like to make sure that I connect you with the resources necessary to have an informed journey. With that, we're going to close our presentation. Thank you very much.